So, hours after Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Lebanon is not included in the two-week truce between the United States and Iran, Lebanon has come under intense Israeli assault. The Red Cross says at least 300 people have been killed or injured, and Israel says it's the biggest attack since the war against Iran and Hezbollah began at the end of February. Hezbollah has so far refrained from launching any rockets across the border since the deal was reached. In the last couple of hours, Israel has been carrying out multiple airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs. The Lebanese Health Ministry says hospitals are overflowing with victims. The assault targeted densely populated residential areas, causing extensive damage. Southern Lebanon also has come under repeated attack since the US-Israeli ceasefire with Iran, and this includes a strike on the southern city of Tyre after Israel issued forced evacuation threats for people living there. Israel's attacks and expanding invasion in the south of Lebanon has forced 1.2 million people from their homes. And overnight, Israeli airstrikes killed at least 8 people in the coastal city of Sidon. That's also in the south of Lebanon. Let's cross to Nour, who's following developments in Israel from near Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. So, Nour, Israel, it seems, determined to continue on the Lebanese front. Tell us about that and how it ties in to the ceasefire between Iran and the United States.
Well, it ties in because it could do one of two things for the embattled Israeli prime minister. It could, at the very least, disconnect Lebanon, the Lebanon front from the negotiations between Iran and the United States. Israel doesn't want to seem like it is receiving orders, like it does not have any say, especially when it comes to the Lebanese front. So it wants to disconnect those two fronts. Even though when Israel started launching attacks on Lebanon and Hezbollah at the beginning of this war, it treated Lebanon as part of its war front against Iran. The other thing that it could do, which could also serve the Israeli prime minister, is sabotage the deal between Tehran and Washington, a deal that is costing the Israeli prime minister a lot of political support. In fact, not even his usual supporters have come out to cheer a supposed victory achieved through this deal. The head of the Israeli opposition has called it a colossal, catastrophic, historical, strategic defeat for Israel, and not just because this war would end and it would maintain Iran as a player in the region from an Israeli perspective, but because Israel was not on the table. Israel did not want this deal. It certainly did not want to tie all of these things together, and it didn't want to see its voice muted. The approach of Israel to all ceasefires, let's just remember, is that when a ceasefire is imposed, Israel retains the right to target the country or the group with which it reached a ceasefire. We see that in Gaza. We saw that with Hezbollah after the 2024 war, and Israel was trying to get to that same formula even with Iran. None of that has happened, and now Netanyahu is trying to fend for himself. His defense minister promising even more attacks. But looking at the map of where those attacks have taken place in terms of the sectarian divide and the sectarian composition of Lebanon, one begins to tie that with discussions in Israel about needing to fan the flames of pressures and strife inside Lebanon, because perhaps that could present Israel with a plan B so that the Lebanese would deal with Hezbollah and not having more soldiers lost in the battles, which are quite fierce in southern Lebanon.
And Nour, just give us a little more context of of Benjamin Netanyahu's position as prime minister and the precarious nature of that and how that implicates how things might pan out.
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu is the longest-serving Israeli prime minister. Now, his coalition is the most right-wing in Israel's history. At the moment, or right before the ceasefire agreement or the truce agreement between Washington and Tehran was reached, the only real opposition that he faced or challenge to his continued reign in Israel was from the right in Israel. This agreement really exposed him politically. Elections are in October. October, the fact that he has to defend himself against his own words. He promised, let's remember, Nick, the Israeli public, that Iran would collapse, that Iran was at the bottom, Israel was on top, Israel was fighting a historic first, a war with the United States. It was becoming a super nation, not just in the region, but throughout the world. Israel had defeated Hezbollah in 2024. All of those things haven't really panned out. And right now, all of Benjamin Netanyahu's detractors and opponents politically have their knives out. They know that this is an opportune moment to take as many jabs at him as possible, because October is not too far away, and it is very difficult to see a way for Netanyahu to save himself from what has happened here, from finding out the limitations of geography and even military power, save for succeeding in sabotaging the truce and the agreement and the diplomatic efforts between Iran and the United States. Perhaps that is what he's working on. But for now, the opponents, the opposition in Israel, is having a day under the sun, if you will. It is a moment of political reckoning. And so the images of utter destruction and mayhem and chaos in Lebanon could help shield him even a little bit as far as his base is concerned, that he is continuing, he's pounding Lebanon, he's trying to find a way to assert that Israel makes its own decisions. They're not dictated from Washington.
Nour, thanks for that. Nour Odeh there in Ramallah. Thank you.